That was a late start going through all the different technical challenges that I had today. Welcome, everyone. Today is the first of a lot of conversations that I'll be having around when it comes to achieving excellence and the secrets to success. And so today, our show is about the secret guide to the 6 principles of success. And those of you that might not know me, I am Veronica Stewart. I'm a mindset and success coach, and I really focus on helping professionals really think and authentically act like entrepreneurs. And the reason why I say entrepreneurs is all of the qualities and mindset that is required to be able to achieve success is really all about that secret sauce. And so all the things that I talk about is really getting us to think about those things in life and career. Now we're going to jump into today's topic here, where we'll be, everything just completely reset on me when I had technical difficulties today. But you know what? We get through that. Now, today I wanted to talk about how does potential become really achievement. And it's all about thinking of principles that are going to help guide you. Because ultimately, the strategy that you start to frame around this is what is going to take shape, right? And around your principles, your values, right? That's going to really drive all of these strategies and create action plans to get to the outcomes that you're wanting to do. And so these are the guides. It's almost, think about it as your true North Star, right? Now, the first principle of success is knowing your outcome. And knowing your outcome makes it very easier for you to understand where you're going. A lot of times we will be highly reactive, especially when a problem occurs. And this can be either within business or within life. And we jump to solving it and being very reactive to what we need to do. Or you set a goal, right? Doesn't necessarily always have to be a problem that you're solving. Regardless, it's all the same if you don't know what you're trying to achieve. And so part of that 6th principle of success is knowing your outcome. Now let's jump into the next one. Taking real action. I'm playing around here on my screens here, so give me a second. Okay, I like this one better. Now, taking real action. It's not going to make a lick of difference if we don't do anything. All the things in the world, right? Creating great plans, creating great strategies, creating a great outcome or goal that you want to achieve. But if you don't do anything about it, it's never going to get you anywhere. And so that second principle, it's a common sense one, right? But if you don't do anything, what does a plan really matter at the end of the day, right? So taking real action, and I say real, meaning this is where you're going to have to start thinking about what you need to do. And sometimes it's something different than what you've done before. This is probably the most challenging thing when I talk about real action, because that outcome that you know you need to do, the action might be the hardest thing that you have to tell yourself that has to be done in order to get it. So real action could be the easy things, but it's also the hard things as well. And the next one is paying attention to your results. Taking action is great, But what are you doing to be able to reflect and make sure that you're actually taking the right actions? So those of you that, let me check and see if there's anybody actually watching today, that these, what are you guys doing so far, right, on getting success? So as I go through these, any of you that either are watching the replay or watching the live right now, I'd love to know, what are you doing? Or maybe you have your own principles of success. Love to hear from you. Now let's get back to paying attention to those results. Feedback is great. And the reason why feedback is very valuable is because it gives you a perspective. Feedback could look like in very different things. In business, and I would say even personal, you can even get feedback on a quantitative, right? It could be certain analytics or feedback on, so like if you're trying to save money, you might be going into your checking account and looking at that balance, right? Something a little bit more tangible. Feedback can also be getting a perspective by someone else. And it might be a little qualitative as well. But if you're always striving to pay attention to the results of the actions that you take, right? Think of the build upon on this, then you know that you are moving in the right direction. Or maybe you just need a different perspective on the type of actions that you're taking. Maybe there's an easier route to get to that outcome. Or maybe there's just a completely different way how to look at something. So I love the third bullet point because you can get really creative of what that means when it comes to your feedback loops. Now, this is the one that matters. You have to be willing to change. Change is hard. Change could be easy for some folks that might be natural risk takers. But changing also means that while you're in the momentum of doing something, maybe you have to let go and pivot and change the way that you're doing something. All of us have some kind of struggle with this. For me, doing something different, I would say it's a little bit more natural compared to the average person. But I still am challenged because if I don't know what I need to pivot about, I might need to go back up, paying attention to my results and getting feedback from someone else to give me a perspective. Right now, as I have moved into what does coaching look like for me and how I can help others, I've been very clear that that has not changed. Where I focus on in the mindset and success coaching, it is helping still professionals live a life where they are able to achieve those results, but I'm still challenged on what my niche is. Who am I really talking to? Being an agile coach before, when we go into these organizations, I almost feel like I was a generalist, right? A lot of problems, a lot of different things. And the only thing that was probably the constant was that I was brought in for agile. But then it was almost like a open field play for me. And so this has been one of my challenges lately, is being willing to change and look at things in a different perspective of what's next for me. So I share this because we all go through it and it might look a little different, and that's okay. The key is, are you willing to want to go through with the process instead of giving up? Now, I'm okay staying uncomfortable and being willing to keep going through this change because I know eventually I'm going to figure it out. But some people might go back to their old habits because it's too difficult. And so this bullet point, and the reason why I'm honing in on this one, is that will, is mustering up that willpower is what's really going to help you get those outcomes and stay in action, in truth. Now, the next one is focusing on excellence. Now, those of you that might have what we call a learner mindset, this might be a little second nature to you, because part of focusing on excellence includes the ability to always continuously learn. And this one is an important one to think about, where you are looking at a couple of things here. And so on the next slide that I have is the psychology of excellence. And so commitment, right? Are you committed to what you're doing? Are you resilient? And resilient, sometimes I feel like this might be a fancy word where everyone puts their own spiel and definition around. But ultimately, what resilience means at the end of the day is, are you able to face up to challenges and how you deal with challenges? And you hear this buzzword resilient a lot, especially what we've all gone through in 2020. It's actually probably tested us. How resilient are we when change happens rather quickly, or puts us in situations that we're highly uncomfortable and we don't really have a choice to get out of? The resilience of being excellent is being able to figure out those tough problems, or creating looking for interesting problems to solve, and be able to meet those challenges and coming up with a particular solution. Now, this is the key of our future, of what companies are looking for these days, is how well are you able to meet those particular challenges? And the reason why I mention this, and I'm repeating myself several times, is one of the things that Tony Robbins said in his 5-day New Word Challenge. And I bring this up a lot because he said a lot of key words. Honestly, they're reusable. So I'm going to keep reusing them. And he talked about creating your own economy. And ultimately, that was creating your own value. This is a great time. Those of you that may have lost your jobs, or you might be looking at what your future of work looks like going forward, either within this year or even 2 years, 3 years from now. The landscape of work is changing. That comfortable, I'm going to do the same thing till I retire, is not the new norm in truth. It's more about being resilient and coming up with ways to be able to bring that value. And it's about up-leveling your skill sets. What are the things that people are looking for? And one of them is resiliency. Now, practice. The other piece of excellence, right, as I go through here, number 3, and why does my phone keep going off as I try to turn this thing off? It's going to drive me crazy today. Now, the practice is just doing something. And it's like they gave an example of Tiger Woods. And there's no way that he just woke up and said, oh, I'm going to be this greatest golfer. And I do everything well. Or anybody that is an athlete or a businessman or what might have you. I heard someone say that all the things and the rewards that you see is what is shown in public, but not all the things that they actually do behind the scenes in private. All the failures, all that work, all that practice that they're actually doing. And so part of excellence, again, a learner mindset, is always practicing. And now the next one is goal setting. Now, every month, just to share what I do, is I goal set for my monthly goals. So I've already done, mine for February. I also think about what I want for the year, or I do a little bit of future pacing and what that might look like, even future tense. But goal setting helps us think about where we want to go. Now, your goals can change. Outcomes could change based on circumstances. And that's why it's great to always revisit. So if you're in the mindset of constant excellence, you're always revisiting, is this goal still valid for me? Right? Did I write a goal that was actually achievable? And that goes into realistic expectations. it makes it difficult for us to be able to start doing something if it's completely unrealistic. Now, I'm not talking about thinking big and dreaming big. You know that Elon Musk talked about, with SpaceX, or he has these ideas, but when he looks at it, he is not thinking it's not a realistic expectation. He actually believes that that's going to happen. And that falls into the next thing, self-belief. Now, self-belief is really, truly digging deep to think about, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in what you are going to achieve? They say see is believing, but I think it's more. It's not only seeing, it's feeling. It might be also what you hear, right? What do you tell yourself? And that self-belief is what goes around with mindset. And the last thing is focus. Being focused on what you want to achieve is always going to be able to provide that ability for you to take action. And so that psychology of excellence of what I'm sharing right now, when we get to that bullet point of success, is peeling the onion layers back and looking at all these different things. Now, what are some of the things that you maybe have here on the list that I haven't shared? Now, again, there isn't a one way to do something, but there's a common theme around all these things. Now, for me, I'm just constantly trying to be better at each one of these. And every day I ask myself, am I committed to the goal that I set? Am I able to meet the challenges that might be happening in the day? I mean, life happens. Yesterday, I shared on LinkedIn, my niece was in town, she was visiting, and I had to make a decision. Do I spend time with my family and work on what I only needed to work on? This is one of the great things about asking yourself, what is really the high value items? And that's probably another talk for another time. But I was able to do what I really needed to do that day, but then also spend time with her. And you know what? It felt good. And I believe that I was able to do all of the things. I didn't have to choose. Now, the last thing, which I think is great, and it's important, because some of these outcomes are tough. I see some of my friends on Facebook. I see, people all the time on any of these social platforms that are really trying to do some great things, or there might be circumstances that happen in their life. But when we always live with gratitude and integrity, then that kind of helps us balance. Because when it gets rough, sometimes we like to judge ourselves. I know I do. Especially when we have grown knowing that you get good grades. I was an honor student, and there's a lot of times I never really thought about what I was doing to myself by being very critical. And so living with gratitude and integrity, the gratitude side is both internal and external. So when I talk about gratitude, I have a lot of my journals. I have this great 5-minute journal that I do, and I actually have one that I use writing, free form, and talk about the good things that I have done, right? Kind of my own brag, patting myself on the back. And then I also just kind of outwardly what I'm gratitude with, right? And that is really helpful when things get rough. The other thing is my integrity. And those of you, this kind of hits close to the values, your value system, or things that you hold dear. A lot of the jobs that I've had through the course of the years, this is one of the things where my integrity was probably the one thing that someone couldn't take away from me. No matter what ended up happening or whatever situation, I always wanted to make sure that if I left today from this job, am I doing the things that I feel that is the right thing for me? And that's the best thing to ask of you every day is, are you doing the right things for you? Then when you look at the greater good on outwardly, right, it tends to line up. So if you believe that you're a good person and you're doing the right things based on those values and your morals, stick to it. So live with that. And these 6 principles are very simple and very basic. Now you can add extra things to these principles, but you know what? Sometimes more isn't always the greatest. And I'm okay with just 6 because then I know it's easier for me to kind of go through and reflect and make sure that I'm doing these. Now, I'd love to hear from all of you. What are some principles that you find that are your true north of helping you achieve success? And then also, if you have some excellence principles as well. As we wrap up for this segment, I wanted to share a couple things. Now, I have a couple of other ways that I share content, and I have a lot of good things that are happening this week. So for tomorrow, on the South Florida, let me take this out here. The South Florida Agile Association, there is a meetup. You can actually go on meetup.com. You can join, it's free, and attend my live session. I will be putting in the URL share. So any of you that are interested in watching that, let me know, put in the comments, and I'll connect you with it if you can't join. This is going to be a build upon of really taking the concept of principles of success, but honing in on the skill sets of problems and finding great problems in addition to what mindset and communication has to do with it. So I'd love for you to, any of you to join, or if you're interested in watching the replay as I dive into this piece tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow, Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, the next thing that's actually going on is tomorrow on the game show or Game Changing Work show. That is with Roxana Rudolesco from All Personal. I have a weekly show that we do on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. And this is, you can catch that on the Game Changing Work channel on YouTube and subscribe, where tomorrow we're going to talk about the top 5 skill set companies that we're looking for in 2021 that companies are looking for. And we have a special guest that will be coming on the show, and we're excited. We always love when we have guests on there. So check out that as well. So I got 2 things going on. I got 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Game Changing Work channel. But again, we have a library of videos that we always do in all our shows. You can catch that on YouTube. And then also I have the South Florida Agile Association meetup, which is going to be more of an interactive discussion. The little known facts of problem solving, mindset, and communication. And next week, I'm going to be changing my time. I'm going to go back to the evenings. I have a little adjustment, and it probably won't be the last time I have to adjust of when I have my lives, because my life is in flux right now and trying to figure out how to manage all the times of the things where I can't come. So I'm trying 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if I can't do the show, I might just consider just doing a pre-recorded one so I can stick to the time. But I'm going to be talking about personal transformation ideas to level up for 2021 for those of you to think about. So those of you that have not subscribed to my channel, it is the Rethink with Veronica YouTube channel. So go on over there, subscribe, and click that notify bell so that you always will know when I am posting and going live there. So it is the end of the stream for this time, and I hope to see you. Keep following, and please provide all feedback or topics that you are interested in talking about, where you are all about leveling up your skill sets and mindset for 2021. This is the channel. We will be talking about those things for this year. And I will see you guys next week.